Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. I thought I was just about out of fuel for videos for a few days or something at least. And then this subject was brought up. Oil. What are we going to do about it? Oh no, well first of all, I believe we should take back all the oil reserves in the Middle East, which are ours. They were just sticky residue in the sand until American entrepreneurs developed the technology to turn it into a resource. So to give the money to kings that own that land just creates big dictatorships we have to fight. So I think we should take the oil back. But the bigger question of what about, let's say we do take the oil back, and now it's our oil, and still we run the pumps dry, and now what the hell are we going to do? When oil starts getting expensive, people will start phasing in other methods of production. Now, throughout the 1990s, there was a big calamity. Well, I shouldn't say calamity. A big ruckus was being made about oil. They were saying it's $17 a barrel, and we can never develop new methods like this, and as long as it's this cheap, we're doomed. And now when it's $75 a barrel, or 100, has it hit 100? I think it hit 100. That is a different story than $17 a barrel. Saudi Arabia used to be the world's biggest producer. It's been eclipsed by Russia. So anyone who was worried about Saudi Arabia running out of oil, looking at their countries the size of a postage stamp compared to Russia, we should be fine. We'll be just fine. We ran out of coal, and that's why we had to develop oil, right? Wrong. Coal fields closed all across the world when the age of oil started. They just shut them down. And they've been opening them up recently because nuclear power won't come into play, oil's expensive. So they are opening up old coal seams that have been closed since the 40s and 50s. And China is still manufacturing steam-powered trains to use all their coal. We didn't run out of coal, we outgrew coal. So we're not going to run out of oil, we're going to outgrow oil. We're going to outprogress oil. Oil is going to become something that's useless. Or just like coal, it's going to become something of the past. Other technologies are ahead of it. And I mean, if we run out of coal today, it would be a serious problem. But we've got about a 300-year supply at our current usage rates. So, you know, we shouldn't sweat too much. And that's just what we know about. And then who knows what we don't know about. And then we haven't even really started mining seriously off the coast. I know they were mining coal seams out underneath the ocean water, clear back in, I believe, the 1700s in Britain. But I mean, seriously, way off the coast, hundreds of miles or whatever, seams of coal have to exist in certain places down there. And we're not even getting serious about that. We've got deep sea oil rigs and stuff, but we're just scratching the surface out there. That's 3/4 of the globe. And sediments on the seafloor build up just like they do in the lakes and stuff on land that turn into petrol deposits. So we're going to be just fine. We're going to totally surpass. I mean, when oil gets to $500 a barrel, there's going to be all kinds of technology come into play to get all of the oil from all the different places. Old oil fields are going to open up, and they'll suck out every last drop with new technologies and sideways drilling and stuff like that. And you know that Canada, as I mentioned, Saudi Arabia has been eclipsed by Russia in the world's largest oil producer. Canada has more oil reserves than Saudi Arabia in the form of tar sand. Okay? Now, tar sand's difficult. They can't really get it produced economically. They can produce a barrel of oil at about $50. It costs about $50. Well, if they can sell it for $50 on the market, pardon me, then it's profitable to produce it. So when the market hits 50, these tar sands come into production. There are a lot of different oil fields throughout the world that when the price hits 100 or 125 or 150, those will come into play. So I wouldn't worry about it just on those grounds. Secondly, though, when oil's 125 or 150, you're going to see people, they're looking at their monthly car payment of $350 and their monthly gas bill of $400, and they're saying, I can afford a very expensive car if I could save on gas. And then electric cars start coming into play when oil's up $100, $150, $200 a barrel. And then you have things like hydroelectric dams feeding electrical grids where cars are recharged, being very competitive over other areas that rely on petroleum. And so then there will be a growing of those technologies when oil gets more scarce. And oil will just sort of be phased out. There will be plenty of it left. I mean, if you understand, as I do not actually, the geological processes that bring it into existence, there's a lot of it coming into existence right now. So I mean, which is to say that there's some really low-grade stuff and some high-grade stuff. And there's just about as many different kinds of oil as there are oil fields. Just about the same thing with coal, and that's the magic of a refinery, is to change it all into a usable substance. So that's my answer to this socialist tripe that we're going to run out of oil. The end of cheap oil. Well, so okay. So the beginning of other technologies. Some other technology is going to come in that's going to be so cheap, you know, but it's like, have you ever heard of can't think of right now, the impetus that starts a chemical reaction that just gets something over that bump of energy needed, and then it goes. And so when oil hits 125 or 150, suddenly things will come into play which will continue to be economical even when oil drops back down to $30 or $40 a barrel, because those technologies will have been invented and developed because of massive you know, investment or whatever. So what's behind the fear of oil and petroleum and stuff? It's the whole green thing, the whole ecological movement, the whole idea that nature is inherently worth something and humans are not, or something like that. Humans are worthless because they harm it or something. The whole ecological movement, they've focused in on carbon as the cause of all this, and it's very curious that carbon tends to go up after or as temperature rises. It doesn't lead a temperature rise. It seems to accompany or follow a temperature rise. And the temperature rise very clearly follows the sunspot cycle. We've got evidence of that over 500 years. We're going to see that glaciers start growing again sometime in the next century or two, and they'll shrink again sometime. I mean, at some point there will be another ice age. They are using the doomsday fear, to attack factories and progress and science. You know, you can never, don't give them an inch on their motives. There's a saying, you should never impugn the motives of your opponent. By all means impugn the motives of these suckers. They don't care about quality of life. They don't care about prosperity. They don't care about wealth. They hate human society and want it to shut down because it damages nature, and nature is valuable for its own sake. No, they don't want parks where we can go look at nature, because if we build a footpath through there and change the history of any mosquito's life, that's a travesty to them. And you have to give them 5 points for being idealistic. Just like the communists always got points for being idealistic. They always had moral fervor on their side. They said, how can you do this? How can you stand by when people starve, or blah, blah, blah. Behind the scenes, they're starving people. Now, that's just exactly what these people do. They say, how can you ruin the world like this? And what they seek to do is turn the world back into the primordial muck of a malarial swamp where people die at the age of